What's up, everybody? It's your favorite fly traps, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Cang Toys Blacanidae, I don't know, Blacanidae Lemonade. This is on loan to me from Robert D. This is their take on like a Shrapnel type of character, but once again, it's so far left of center that I don't even think it's technically third party, honestly. It's just sort of like loosely inspired by. Came as kind of a surprise that they were doing this all together. I don't even remember seeing teases or anything for this stuff, but like I said, Cang Toys is getting into a space where they don't even quite feel like third party anymore. They feel like first party doing their own thing, and I'm just kind of continuing covering them because I have the access to them via Robert, and simultaneously because there is obviously an inspiration behind it, you know, that comes from Transformers. So let's go ahead and talk about this guy, but in order to do so, we need to first look at accessories. So he comes with two of these. We'll just talk about one because they are identical. We have silver and gold paint on them and gunmetal paint there in the center. You have a handle here. The handle does move about, and we'll show a little bit how that works. So we'll collapse it right now, for instance. And there's two pegs in his back, but underneath this back plate that you can slide them onto. You know, to kind of give the things over the shoulder look, you know, it'll kind of look like that, which is cool. And he'll hold it just fine. And of course, they're utilized in transformation as well for alt mode for the front of the bug. So we'll show that during the transformation process. So let's go ahead and talk about the figure, and we'll start with the head sculpt, which I do think is cool. It doesn't seem reminiscent of the character at all. But it's a decent enough head sculpt. I feel like it does carry the kind of bug motif through, which I think works. We have already on this guy, we have our introduction figure-wise to silver and gold, along with a gunmetal paint that's on there and a metallic red on the eyes. The head itself is on a ball peg. You can get back to there, down to there, a swivel that gets jammed up by the antenna. Hold on one second. I'm going to stop because somebody's vacuuming upstairs and I don't want it to be too much of a distraction. You get a little bit of a confused shrapnel face as well. Moving on to the torso, we have some pad printed paint with the silver on top of the purple. The purple's a flat plastic, which is surprising because usually Cang Toys paints everything. Silver and gold accents on the chest and body. You get a waist swivel. No ab crunch. For the shoulders, you get a universal joint at the shoulder that gets you up to 90 degrees. A little bit of squeakiness there. This figure's not tolerance great in that regard. I'll show you why here again shortly, but that's just plastic grinding against plastic. That's not good for anybody. You do get this little ensemble here. You can sort of pose these on a hinge according to however you prefer. Once again, accents. Once again, some pad printed paint. Bicep swivel, die cast elbow, double jointed. That gets you the full run. You have these little bits here on the forearm. They're also on a hinge. You can pose those to your heart's desire as well. Wrist swivel, fingers on a base pen knuckle, and the thumb also, I think? No, thumb stationary. All right. And then let's back out now and look at the whole figure. So we have the hip skirts here with silver painted on top of the purple, some pad printed paint there at the top, gold there on the middle of the pelvis, and then the little Insecticon symbol down below. Hips are universals, also tolerance poorly. Good grief. That's just plastic grinding against plastic. That's you slowly destroying your toy over time. Gets out for the full Van Damme, though. Here we go again. Somebody open the front door. And now open the side door. All right, and then we have rotation forward that gets you 90 degrees and rotation back until you bump into this backpack here. Not the full Monty, but probably more than you'll ever need. Thigh swivel, fully painted silver legs with gold accents and gunmetal accents along the way to include some pad printed paint, which looks good. We have a double jointed knee, but you really don't even need the second joint. It is there, but you really don't need the second joint to activate the entire articulation range, which is nice. Ankles, we have an ankle rocker. No problem there. And an ankle tilt back, nothing really up. And then there he is from the back, you know, a lot of bug parts. But I don't think that necessarily is bad. In fact, I think it carries the bug motif through, along with like all like the kind of like little bug looking accents on the shoulders and arms and the head sculpt and all that. Like I think it carries through nicely. Let's do some size comparisons. Size comparison wise, there he is with a Masterpiece car and a Fans Toys Insecticon. So in typical Cang Toys fashion, you know, significantly larger than the sort of running standard for Masterpiece figures, you know. So do with that information what you will. All right, let's get this guy transformed, and we're gonna start with the lower legs. So get your hip skirts out of the way, because you kind of need to get a visual on this joint. Good night, dude. Close the basement door. All right, so rotate the leg around until you get the fan sculpt of the Universal facing forward, and then rotate the leg back around until it's facing forward again. So we've just like broadened the hips, right? Golly, dude. All right. Somebody's grandpa's rocking chair. There we go. Hips are widened. That's the way I like it. On the back here, we're gonna flip out the bug legs, and we're going to take these out, spin this down, and then I think rotate that up. I'll have to mess with that as we, or maybe it comes around. Yes, so around and then back, right? And then this sits down. Maybe this does. Yeah, okay. Except I don't know if... let's see how far we get. All right, so same on the other side here. And we're going to bring out this leg. There's like a groove that it sits in. Once they're folded up, you can spread them out a little bit. You got to get this part over to the opposite side and then spin this around 180. And then these two pieces will come together, and these two gray areas here at the bottom will sort of notch together and put the legs out at like an angle. And then this shell comes down and tabs in to the upper thigh of each. Take the backpack, pull that away, spin the head around. You need to rotate the head back a little bit to clear the collar. And then the head will tuck inside of the body, and then that piece comes down over top. Your plates here have to be rotated out on these double hinges here. And then there's a tab or a peg there at the bottom that'll peg in right there. But I'm sorry, that's not where it goes. Spin at 180, and then this peg will peg into the gold piece that was at the center of the pelvis. Now we have the arms. Lift this bug leg out, and I think the hand needs to go in fingers down into the forearm. This bug leg needs to extend out also. This bug leg at the top here is on a slider, so just slide that down to the bottom, and then you can kind of articulate that whichever way you so desire. Sorry, I couldn't believe that this was where it's supposed to tab in, but you're using this slot here, and it goes into the plate of the pelvis, and just sort of sits like that. Oh, and then I think this shoulder pad is intended to rotate down as well. Yeah, dude. So let's go ahead and do that again. It's not difficult. It's just it seems a little unfinished. All right, slide that down. And open this up. Tuck the hand in. Rotate the bicep. And bring this down. We're gonna try to collapse this shoulder plate here ahead of time. And tab that into the forearm. This comes out. Sort these legs. And then take your weapons, peg them in. And that's this guy in a nutshell. Oh, but the back legs, sorry. Just expand them out, rotate them around, you know, to clean it up. I'll sort all the legs, and then we'll come back and take a look at this guy. And there he is. And here's Tiger Tracks. You know, so significant size, so to speak. You know, the legs articulate, you know, forward and back and some up and down. It's a little, make sure that all of the little spiky bits here are pointed up and that the feet are kind of flat on the ground. That's the proper orientation. It gets a little counterintuitive, just due to the spikes. It seems like the spikes should go down to like give it a little bit more tread to walk. These pincers will theoretically open and close on this pegs, but it's such a tight fit that it barely wants to hold on, which is unfortunate. The bug motif and stuff still comes through in the kind of deco of the eyes and so forth. A little red there, maybe even for like a little mouth, but you know, it's fine. It takes some liberties in the transformation that I think are meant to feel clever, but they end up feeling like a C's get degrees kind of approach, where it's like, we need to make this thing stick together somehow. Just angle it, a little bloody arrow, dude, shove it in. You know, like the forearms going into the waist plate there. It's just, I don't know, man. It's fine. It's fine. It's not a problem, but it feels a little like amateurish in that follow through in that regard. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negatives, and of course I have to start with the tolerance issues. The shoulders are tolerance too tight, the hips are tolerance too tight. That's just plastic grinding against plastic. In the same breath, the weapons plugging into the backpack, that connection's a little snug too. Also, in an era where the kind of more sophisticated articulation is coming to the forefront, the fact that he doesn't have either an ab crunch, which he could without disrupting anything, or a billified joint or butterfly joint, does seem like a shortcoming in this modern era, when a lot of companies are kind of giving you that as a standard. Also, the fact that it's so loosely inspired by Shrapnel that it doesn't really feel like an Insecticon anymore. I find that a bit troubling, but you know, it's a new day out there, and I get that as well. And then, like I said, the only other negative I have is that some of the transformation finishing steps don't really feel finished, in my opinion. They feel sort of like we don't know what to do here, so maybe we can just make something attached to something in some regard and get by. And it's ultimately effective, so it's fine, but it does have a little bit of that amateur feel, which I don't really feel like Cang Toys often does feel like, if that makes sense. I feel like that was a lot of feel like. Moving on to the positives, I do like the bug motif that they were able to kind of carry through with their own Insecticon symbol, along with the way that the weapon is utilized. Speaking of the weapon, I love that the shape of the weapon gets the kind of melee aspect way out of the forearm kibble, which allows you to utilize it a bit better. Sometimes companies don't take that into consideration. I also like the way it stores in the back in terms of its concept, if not its follow-through. There is tons of paint on this guy. The silver and gold and red really help bring it to life. I wish the purple was painted. I'm not sure why they didn't. That doesn't seem par for the course with Cang Toys, at least the Cang Toys that I'm familiar with. And there is a lot of articulation here. Your standard articulation is done to the nines, right? Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, full range ankles with the exception of ankle tilt up. But look at how wide I have those legs apart and dramatic, and yet the feet are fully on the ground. So like all of the kind of like old school standard articulation you get in droves here. You just don't get any of the more advanced stuff, which is becoming setting the new standard. The materials feel good, and with the exception of the shoulders and hips, the build is pretty solid. And I mean, the bug motif carries through in bug mode, obviously, you know, but I think it does it kind of cleverly in that regard, like the aesthetic cues. So, I mean, that's cool. Look, it's fine. It's a fine figure. It's not going to blow your socks off. It's not going to make you hate life like that Constructicon I looked at last week. It's just a figure to get you through the day. And if you need something like that, this is the one for you. If you're kind of doing fine without a figure getting you through the day, I recommend passing. You'll be fine without it. Hope that helps. Cang Toys, stay focused. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.